Okay. Excuse me. 3,
That was
2.
like
Yeah, that was like a weird throat thing.
that's happened to me before.
What made that noise? Like you just have like a little, I don't know, it's like
A
a
little
burp and it's
gurgle.
not like a hiccup. It's like it's caught right here and it just goes.
I'm surprised your microphone picked it up, to be honest.
No, I know, right? That was obnoxious.
Now
All
I'm
right.
concerned what my microphone picks up.
Yeah, I know. Just you yelling at your dogs. Yeah. All right, here we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Talking Elite Fitness. Sean Woodland, Tommy Marquez, Lauren Khalil here with you on a Tuesday. I'm losing track of days already. How you guys doing?
Good.
Fantastic.
Yeah, Lauren, how were the Asbury Park Summer Games?
Oh my gosh, they were amazing. I was floored because I had never been to that event before. And I think I was telling you guys that my last memories of New Jersey were not very many memories because it was in my good old college days.
The fog of war.
Yes. So walking on the boardwalk was a very different experience this time around.
Because you were walking and not...
I was wearing
Stumbling.
shoes, which was a nice change of event.
Oh. Did you get
You
your
know,
hair
when you wear,
braided?
like, I didn't. No beads
Oh.
in my hair this time. But yeah, it was an incredible event and the community was just so happy to have the event back because they were supposed to be a sanctional back in 2020, but then COVID happened. So
Yeah.
the last time they had the event was 2019 and it was just the energy and everything was on time and it was so organized and everybody seemed to have a really great experience. So
That's awesome.
it was
Nice.
good. Yeah.
Good
Love
stuff.
to see it.
I'll be doing the same thing later this week.
Yeah, where are you going? You're
I'm
going
going
to the
out
Iron Games, right?
to Cedar City, Utah for the Iron
yeah.
Games. So I'll be hanging out there for doing some stuff with them, maybe shooting a couple interviews for us and just kind of hanging out. The event, I guess, team buddies of mine, big fan of them and, like supporting them. So
Cool
good stuff.
Well, what we're going to do today, we're going to go over some news items, some stuff that's happening. Nothing huge, but just stuff we want to get out there. And then we want to revisit for the final time. Those of you who are longtime listeners of the show and pay attention to us throughout the season, we like to start each year with our top 10 questions going into the year. And then we look back on those at the end of the season and think like, man, that was a stupid question, or now we finally know the answer to that. But we're going to go and give our final answers to our top 10 questions heading into the season. But before we do that, I want to tell you about, Tommy, our good friends at Working Against Gravity, because summer's almost over, but that doesn't mean it's not, time to get yourself in fighting shape.
It's always good. It's always a good time to get in fighting shape, whether fighting means being an elite athlete or I guess maybe just, I don't know, trying to walk the boardwalk in New Jersey with shoes on.
Zing.
Small victories.
Small victories, exactly. It's Jersey. Anything goes. Well, Working Against Gravity can help you get squared away with their nutrition coaching program that's helped over 30,000 clients reach their goals, whether it's aesthetics, fitness, a combination of both. Their team of certified nutrition coaches can get you there. If you sign up, you get your very own one-on-one nutrition coach. I've been fortunate to be a member of Team WAG for a few years. Now you check in, you have weekly check-ins, update your goals, feedback for your coach. Really, it's an open dialogue. You have unlimited messaging around the clock. You can always get a hold of your coach if you have questions, and they can provide everything from nutrition tips. They have recipes on their website. They can adjust the goals based on the time of year. Great example for me was at the games this last year. We had a rule around making sure I eat breakfast because I have a tendency to forget that. And then,
I could never forget breakfast.
Couple of minor rules around dessert and adult beverages, at the end of the night. So if you're interested in getting your own nutrition coach and helping you guide your way to increase fitness, aesthetics, and more, head to workingagainstgravity.com, click Get a Coach. And if you put in the code ELITE, you'll get $50 off your first month of coaching. So great way to kind of get started on better nutrition and better fitness goals.
Awesome. And for those of you watching this live, I'm just going to put this little QR code right up there in the corner. So if you ever want to check them out, scan that and we'll get going. But let's get into the news. And most of it has to do with off-season competitions, namely Dubai and the Rogue Invitational. Invites have gone out for Dubai.
Yeah.
And this, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember hearing or reading something that said it's like an invite-only event now, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Which it kind of was for the most part when it was first kind of gaining steam.
Okay.
Before the sanctionals era, it was largely invites. I think they may have had some qualifying stuff for maybe some local athletes, possible. But they also, way back in the day, they used to have like weekly or monthly competitions locally for all of them. And that's kind of how it got started. But I think for the elite athletes, this invite only is probably a better path for them. They
For
can
sure.
curate a highly competitive field, and it's 3 days. I think it runs December 8th through the 10th. But it'd be great to. I think it'd be cool to know exactly what the criteria is.
That was going to be my next question:
Yeah.
is do they go solely off the CrossFit Games leaderboard, or is it like they take, they'll invite 20 off the leaderboard and then they'll reserve 10 for whoever they want, or do we know that?
Have you guys seen any athletes post their invites yet?
I don't think I have.
I think they just went out, man.
Yeah. I would be curious, like, I'm just gonna, after this, go through everybody's Instagram stories to see if anybody has like shared it yet. But I do wonder, if it's based off the leaderboard or maybe star power or maybe like living arrangements, what's like cost effective to get people there. Unsure.
You both have been to that, right? I'm the only guy who hasn't been. Yeah, man, I got to get over there.
Yeah,
I hear it's a great. No, I've just never been able to make it. But it's I know it's a great event.
Mm-hmm.
They always do a very good job, I think, of utilizing some local landmarks. Like last year with the Burj Khalifa, then they had the beach run. They've gone out to the desert. They've gone to the mall and done a run up that hill,
up the snow hill.
So TBD on that one. And then the other news about off-season comps is that the qualifier workouts are out for Rogue.
Mm-hmm.
My goodness, they are not joking around with these things.
Have
you seen these?
Oh,
yeah,
man.
I think a lot of prospective athletes just kind of might hit the note button on that.
Oh, yeah. It's like, hey, I kind of want to ease into the off season, and maybe I'll check this out and try to compete. And you look at those workouts, and it's, yeesh.
But if you're thinking about people that are doing the Q and maybe they're not necessarily athletes that qualified for the games this year, they might be ready to hit the ground running again with some of these qualifiers.
I would agree with that. And then maybe, athletes that went team, a great example, Jorge Fernandez did that last year. Pretty high level athletes that could knock this out. It's obviously a slightly different athlete cohort in general, but I mean, some of these are nasty. I mean, the first one I think looks fun. The 0 to 8 minutes, buy in 200 dubs, and then AMRAP of 4 clusters at 185, 8-bar muscle ups. So just kind of like a heavy, fast barbell gymnastics couplet sprint with just those dubs sprinkled in at the front. And then you have 6 minutes after a 2-minute break to find a 3-rep max overhead squat from the rack. I'd be really excited to see some of the scores that get popped up.
Are either of you going to try any of these?
Hell no.
I'm actually,
like, I'm banged up right now. I can't.
That's right.
Lower body only right now. I think I partially tore my chesticle. Doing ring dips like a moron and not warming up.
Yeah,
so
he's got a pretty gnarly,
a little bruise happening here. So we're just going to leave that alone. What's the next one? What's number 2?
Number 2
is a giant chipper. 50 calorie row, 50 toes to bar. Yeah, that's a nope.
Yeah.
25 sandbag over the shoulder.
50 box step ups with 50-pound dump. Oh man.
And then back up the ladder.
21 minutes. I don't even think I get halfway through that 21 minutes.
I know. I was trying to think of I think I'll be halfway at 20 minutes.
That's disgusting.
Usually in every online format, there's always one workout that people have circled that that's the one you do last.
Yeah.
Because of the interference. I can't decide if it's workout 2 or workout 4.
What's 3?
Okay,
50-foot dumbbell suitcase carry lunge. Ouch.
20 devil's press.
3 legless rope climbs. 3 rounds. 12-minute time cap. God.
Ooh, that's fast.
That one looks fun too, but also the 20 devil's press in the middle with the 50s.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
That is a test in mental fortitude, because 6 to 7 reps in, you're not going to want to do that anymore.
Okay, workout 4, that is one that I would like to do.
Man,
that looks fun.
No. 10 down to 1.
Goodbye.
Yeah. The snatch weight goes up each round or every 2 rounds. Oof.
Yeah, 10 down to 1, strict wall-facing handstand push-ups. The snatch goes up every 2 rounds, but you're also, similar rep scheme. Goes from 135, 95, all the way up to 245, 165. I mean, this is such a great example of just like where we're at as a sport for the athletes and what they're capable of, because you do 55 strict wall-facing handstand push-ups, and then you're going to do 3 reps total at 245 after already hitting, pretty much every significant weight along the way.
Back in 2013, we had that burpee snatch workout. What was the finishing weight on that for like as many as you?
Oh, for the
open workout?
Yeah, 13-1, right?
It was 135 for the win.
It was 210 for the men.
Yeah, and now we're up to that's
Yeah.
barbell basically number 2 here. 3.
We have
Sheesh.
progressed.
Yeah. All right.
And honestly, it was just an accomplishment to get 1 at that 210.
Oh yeah.
Because remember when Dan Bailey and Scott Panchik went head to head on it, I think they cut away from it right at the last second, but Scott got a rep right at the buzzer.
Yeah.
But but now you're gonna have to do 11 reps there.
And this, well, good luck to anybody who's going to give those a try.
Yeah.
Rogue Invitational, it's the last weekend in October, right? It's the weekend right before Halloween. Yeah.
Yep.
That's such a fun event, man. With the strongman competition and it's a blast. It's
Rogue record breakers.
Yeah, they got record breakers.
Oh,
Speaking of record breakers, I forgot about this. We got to give our boy Big Laws a shout out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think he set a new record as far as the Denny Stone carry.
Oh
is
yeah.
concerned. He carried those things. I don't know what the final distance was, but he like set a record.
Yeah.
So good for him, man. It's like 700 pounds that you're holding.
If they do the Denny Stone hold thing,
You should try it.
I think I could pick them up.
You should definitely break them. Just breaking those things off the ground is incredible. Yeah, I bet you could do it. Get yourself some nice big boots and just
Should I come out with those pointy
pick them
those pointy toed
yes,
the pointy boots?
Yes, please do.
The ones.
Oh boy.
Oh man. That would be amazing.
I could go over to the swap meet in my hometown and
There you go.
pick up some of those pointy toed boots.
And then finally,
How pointy though? Like
I mean, extra, like almost curling back.
those things got to be touching your shoulders,
more or less. And then finally, this last bit of news we wanted to get to. Congratulations to Invictus. They got to throw out the first pitch at a Padres game. Apparently.
Yeah, I think they're doing it tonight, maybe. But yeah, they're they get to throw out the first pitch.
The only other time I remember there being a pitch thrown out at a game was the A's game, and I think they had Camila Blanc-Bazinet do it, right?
Yeah, she walked out. She walked out on her hands.
Tia Toomey.
Yeah,
Tia Toomey
she
did.
did. Okay.
Yeah. She did at the Milwaukee Brewers.
I want to say Matt maybe did once too.
Last year or the year before. And then this year they actually had Masters athlete Tom Famery.
Yep.
Okay,
throughout
cool.
the first pitch. Yeah.
Love to see that. All right.
I mean, are they going to have all 4 of them throw together?
Probably.
In which case, you got 4 catchers.
Oh,
I'm
interesting.
guessing so.
I mean,
probably should.
As
right?
long as they're What's the scale we're gonna grade them on for these first pitches?
I think when you throw a first pitch, it's just don't bounce it.
Get
it to where the catcher doesn't
plate.
need to. Yeah, just get it to the plate. Get it to where the catcher doesn't need to make like a diving save. Like, just get it to him.
Just get it there.
Yeah.
Oh man,
I want to see some
don't look like
dance
the
moves at the beginning.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay. Don't look like
Yeah,
the
like have
Europeans
some
during the
flair.
softball throw in 2011.
Just don't try to impress anybody. Don't try to throw a fastball. Don't try to put any stuff on it. Just get it over the plate. Like you're throwing it to your kid. Nice. Just lob it in there. Makes nice and easy.
I think historically speaking, 50 Cent has the worst first pitch ever.
Oh, I'm gonna YouTube that.
Did he?
Yeah, it was pretty bad. It went way. I think it came out early, and it was just
Yeah.
Oh, at a Mets game.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
But-
boy.
All right. Well, let's get into what we wanted to talk about today, and that's the final. That is the final answers to our top 10 questions heading into the season. So again, we
And some of them we've already kind of
some of them.
answered.
Some of these will be relatively quick.
Yeah.
Because did you
I'm
just watch
sorry.
it?
What?
I If you haven't seen it, you gotta go watch him throw that pitch.
Well, if it's 50 Cent, what happens?
It's so bad. He throws it way left, like not even
Like the first base?
close.
He's left-handed too, right?
Oh, man.
All right,
I
hold
don't know. I'm
All right, we'll
sorry.
deal with
I'm
that
sorry.
later.
Yeah, he's left-handed. Oh my God.
Come on,
The
Fitty.
poor photographer or someone over in the corner.
There's definitely one, and I've seen it on like a meme page where it goes way wide and hits a photographer, like, or someone recording it with a phone, like right in the gagoots.
Can't do that. All right.
Sorry.
That's okay. Let's get to, so question 10. This is
Yeah, you
my
gotta see it.
God. Just a bit outside. Yeah,
Ball 8.
yeah,
Ball
I was like
12.
halfway down the first baseline. He threw that thing. All right, so we ordered these in like importance and what we wanted to know. And so number 10 was which daughter will have the biggest comeback season? And it wasn't Sarah apparently because she didn't even make the games.
Nope.
Annie was solid, but it was Catherine David's daughter.
It was
Top 10
Mhm.
at the CrossFit Games. I wasn't shocked by that. I actually picked her to be on the podium. She is someone that I just think last year was an anomaly. She had other things going on in her life. I don't know if she was fully 100% dedicated to competing. Got with HWPO. I think got the flame rekindled a little bit. Looked great at the North America West semifinal. And someone who, when she gets to the games, she just does well. She's a gamer. She's a competitor. She does well in that setting. I really thought she was going to be on the podium. Last time she missed the game, she ended up winning the following year, coming back. But yeah, clearly it's Catherine. And now the question is like, how much more is left in that tank?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, okay.
We missed one at the bottom.
What's that?
Will the changes to semifinals generate more excitement?
Well, yeah, but I'm going in order. This is number 10.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. All right. So that's anything anybody wants to add to that?
No, but I think the fact that the final answer was maybe something different than what most people had thought.
Yeah, I think most people had Annie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't be I don't think it would be errant to think that, right? Just given track record, but it's good that there was some volatility in that answer.
Yeah, for sure.
I also do think that it's cool, and maybe this is a separate conversation, but looking at Katrin and her past athletic abilities and the fact that she was able to, yes, she's working with HWPO and Matt Frazier and all of those great people, but she still was remote for most of the time. And she was still able to, live, I think in Utah, Idaho. Okay. Yeah. But still able to live out there, kind of train in her own environment and make that big of a comeback from the last time we saw her at the games, I think in itself was very impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that is another conversation that I really want to have. And we got to get the right guests on here to have it. Is that, how much of an impact do coaches, training camps, environments, and Lauren, you talked about this a little bit today on the Death by episode that you recorded, that will be out tomorrow. But how much of an impact or how much credit do they deserve for the success of an athlete? I think it's a fascinating conversation. And
I don't know that there's like an answer to it.
I don't think there is either.
There's a lot of people in the good space or a lot of people in the space with good opinions and ideas and thoughts to the conversation. Yeah, for sure. So we'll effort that. Okay. You ready to go to number 9? Because that was pretty simple. Number 9. It's a little more complex. Will the changes to semifinals generate more excitement around those events? And we were talking primarily North America here. And I'll let you lead off.
Well, I think Europe certainly is deserving. We talked primarily North America because the changes for allotment, but I think you could add in it like almost like a footer to this that the Europe event was pretty fantastic, and that even though it may have felt like they were getting the short end of the stick with just one event, it certainly did seem like a pretty premier setting, at least from all of the feedback that we got from people overseas. I think it's hard for me to say definitively yes around the more excitement without mentioning the kind of botched communications around the non-covered tests.
I'd agree with that.
So it's like, yeah, maybe there was more excitement because we're kind of getting back to to the regionals type format or the highly condensed competitive system, but it's excitement goes out, extends beyond just the people in the building.
Okay.
And with that in mind, it's hard to get excited if you can't see it. Right?
No, agreed.
But when it comes to the excitement, what is it about Berlin and even Brazil and Australia with the Torian Pro? I mean, we look at events like that and they're constantly sold out, and the hype with their fans. What's missing in North America that we don't see that type of backing at CrossFit events with our community?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, the days were sold out at both of the North America semifinals. So at least from a spectator perspective, it maybe wasn't as jam-packed as some of the other ones. But I think part of it too is exposure, right? You look at like Europe, I don't know how many total events of this caliber are there in this fashion.
Yeah, scarcity,
right?
I think, is the problem.
Good point.
And yeah, I mean, South America for sure, right? Because they're
Sure.
developing it's a developing area, and it has seen an explosion of affiliates and new members of the community, and new members of that community bring that kind of like that early, like this is new and shiny type passion to the sport as well. So it could be a little bit of that. I think well, Australia in general does a really good job of just like being tight knit as a community and like supporting their own. And if this is going to be our thing right here, we're going to rally around it in a very big way. And I think a lot of credit goes to the guys at Torian for cultivating that experience for them, because you know, even when it was still in their gym at Torian, I would hear people be like, yeah, this is they do a good job of setting the environment and making it something that everybody wants to go to.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of the number of events that you actually have a chance to attend in person. So in Europe, that really is like the marquee one. That is their games. Whereas here in the US, you know, you've got two semifinals,
Games, Rogue,
you've got
Wadapalooza.
open announcements, you have all this stuff, and you can't go to every single one of them. So most people probably would pick, you know, if we're going to spend the money, we're going to go to the games. With that being said, I mean, I think that I love the standardized programming across the board. I think that was a lot better from a viewer standpoint to be able to tell that contiguous story from one week to the next, as far as like test records and all that stuff. I think the thing that was missing in CrossFit coverage, other than showing every test, was what we used to do when we would have a studio show in one location like when there was a break in the action, you go back to the studio, they would wrap up what just happened, and then they would show you highlights from other places. I think that to me is like the one thing that they need to bring back if they really want to make semifinals like regionals were at the height 2017, 2018. And I don't like, given the financial drain that those owned and operated semifinals were on CrossFit, man, I'd be surprised if this looks exactly the same next year.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I don't know what they're going to do, but there's got to be some changes here as far as from a financial viability standpoint.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I don't know from that instance, is it just the events, or is it just how you operate as a company as a whole?
Probably both.
Yeah.
You know, because they put out an RFP for cities to host, right?
Yeah.
So that's a start.
Yeah.
Because right away you do that, now you're incentivizing cities to, okay, what are you going to give us when we go there? Whether it's, you know, we'll pay for X, Y, and Z. Like, you won't have to be charged for this, or we can provide this venue for free, or whatever it is. But
yeah, the RFP included like hotel blocks and a bunch of like incentives.
Yeah, because when you don't do that, there's no competition. So when you say, hey, Orlando, we're coming, like, great, here's what you got to pay.
Yeah. We picked you. Okay.
Awesome.
Here's your bill.
Yeah, exactly. So
but is this RFP for 1 year, because this is what's always been problematic to me with CrossFit. And I know that it's the unknown and unknowable, but if I'm looking at where I can host a semifinal, I shouldn't just be looking at where I can host it for 1 year. There should be like a 3 to 5 year contract built into that. It's almost like sometimes I feel like CrossFit is flying the plane as they're building the plane and everybody's scrambling. And that's why we end up into these financial situations, and we can't broadcast all of the events because we didn't even know what the budget looked like. So I'm hoping that regardless of what the season structure looks like this coming year, that a decision is made that's going to be set in stone, or basically set in stone for extensive amount of years.
Yeah, I'm looking at the semifinal RFP right now too, and obviously there's a ton that goes into it. We discussed it when it came out. I remember talking about it, but it did give us some wiggle room on dates for this is a 4-week window for 3 weeks of competition. So like maybe some adjustments there. I'd be curious to see what they got as far as interest on a city level, at least in North America, because they're seeking a minimum financial commitment each year, $50K combined cash and value in kind. So yeah, that's a significant investment by the city. But then again, if the city's smart and they know that all these people are going to come, and CrossFit can promote it in a way that's supportive of their city partner, then I mean, you'll make that backhand over foot. But
something to keep an eye on. I do hope they keep the standardized programming. Love that.
I agree.
I think that's the best way to go, but who knows? All right, let's get to number 8. Number 8, there's a big yes. Is Pat Vellner still a contender for fittest on earth?
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely he is.
What did Timmy P call him in the
old war dog?
The old war dog.
Oh, yeah. That was great.
Yeah, I look, man, I don't know how the guy's doing it. I'm just training smart, being a dad.
Having a job that's outside of being an athlete.
Not having skin on his hands.
Exactly. And if you're just like Pat, if we could just take one of those 27s and make him a 10th, you're winning.
But I like how stubborn he is.
I do too. I love the fact,
like he just digs his heels in and he's like, this plan might suck, but I'm going to follow it to the end to see if it actually sucks or pays out.
Yeah, and part of that's like he mentioned, as you can go see in our interview now, like part of that stubbornness is what has allowed him to be successful in a variety of ways. But it just sucks that when something like the alpaca happens and it's just a minor slip up, and and then that slip up tears all the skin off.
Because he was going to be top 5 in that, right?
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, this that podium race takes on a whole new complexion.
He is a great example so in that test in particular, he loses 53 points to Adler rather than potentially finishing 5th and gaining 9 points on him. So that's a 62-point swing right there. And couple that with the bonk in the ride, and you're right, like the misstep in strategy. Like if you turn that to a 10th, then you're right in there and you're contending. But then again, like he said too, like if I get to do that, then everyone else gets to do that too. And absolutely, it's not a fair game to play.
But I think the thing is that it's not like it's a different problem every year. It's like slow start, dig out of the hole. Just eliminate the slow start.
He thrives in that environment,
right? I don't know. Maybe he's got it. I think some people need that actual pressure on them to get in competition mode. You can't just artificially create it. You just, I'm actually in a hole. I have to get going here. So, but yeah, I'm glad that he's not talking about quitting anytime soon. I think he's great for the sport. I think he is absolutely still a contender. And we will see if I think he's going to show up at Rogue. See what happens there, and going into the next season. Looking forward to it. This is another step number 7. This is another easy answer here. Who will emerge as the favorites for the Affiliate Cup? During the season, it was East Nashville Proven, and then you get to the games.
Well, I would argue that it was all 3. It was East Nashville Proven, Invictus, and Oslo.
I was all in on East Nashville Proven. I thought after semifinals, like, yes, those 2 teams looked good, but they didn't look like East Nashville Proven did, and I was wrong.
I think I was a little more gun shy on that because of what we saw with the Reykjavik team the year prior.
Sure.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and how Invictus responded in the way that they did last year, kind of really, I don't want to say outperforming at the games because their performance was their performance, but like I think people didn't quite expect as strong a performance top to bottom outside of San Diego from this Invictus team. There are a few people that did for sure, but I think given that and they're returning their entire squad, and I just thought that it wasn't a sure thing.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say it was a sure thing, but if I had to put money on it, I would have put money on East Nashville Proven.
Yeah, it would have been tough for me on that one. I don't know. I might have just let that bet slide.
Like you did the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, I know. My wife saved me
Saved you $20.
Oh, bless her.
Yeah. But I think we need to give credit to Invictus and what they have built down there and how long they have been in the game producing high-level championship caliber teams.
It's so funny because sometimes and I feel like every prominent program has their moment. I don't want to say in the sun for this, but like at some point the boo birds come out and start like trying to tear you down and tear you apart. Like, oh, they're not that good, or that this programming isn't that special, or this gym isn't that great, this coach isn't that good. And I mean, all CJ and the Invictus crew has done is just continue to stay the course. And what they've built in San Diego is clearly very attractive to athletes to come and hang out and train and just be a part of that community. And, for the second time with a completely different roster, they've won the affiliate cup. And I mean, that's as the most tenured affiliate in the affiliate cup history. That's it's something to hang your hat on. And I think it's an awesome honor for them because what they do have down there is special. And I've been fortunate to train down there a few times.
Because they've had a team every year at the games, right?
Every year the affiliate cup.
Yes.
Yeah.
Since it started.
Nuts. I don't think anybody else claim that?
Fort Vancouver was close. And then, a couple of years ago, I think they stopped. But
okay, number 6. What region stands to benefit the most from the new ranking system? So this is obviously a question that we came up with going into the season. Is this one we have an answer to right now? I guess we got to see how it plays out for next year. But off the top of my head, I'm guessing Europe.
I mean, we answered this way back when the allotments got announced, but I mean,
I guess I'm thinking long term now and heading into the next year.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty close. I think North America East for sure benefited the most. And going and looking back at like performance, I'd be really interested to see. I'm more interested in this question next year now that we have a year's worth of games performance under this to kick out the previous year 2 seasons ago performance on the semifinal rankings, which factors in, and if they're going to make this adjustment at all, because we've talked about this on the show. Like the Europe men, I think, did a pretty decent job performance-wise relative to the Europe women when it was traditionally thought the other way around. But, North America East had a strong performance in the ranking system coming into it. But if you look at, so Roman is up there, Vellner, Adler, the top 3 people for the top 5 are from North America East on the men's side. So yeah, pretty solid showing overall.
Do you think they'll tweak anything about this?
I hope they do. I mean,
what would you guys tweak if you could tweak anything with this system?
Honestly, I'd need a little bit more time with it.
Yeah.
To look at the game's results through this rankings filter, just because, and Eubanks would have told you himself, it's not a perfect system.
No, there's
right?
no
but they're
doubt.
Getting it. And I do think it's something that needs to be refined over time. But yeah, I just kind of maybe have to take a look at it a little bit more.
Lauren, is there anything that you would, off the top of your head?
Full transparency, the ranking system still confuses me.
Really?
It does.
All
Yeah.
right. You know what I would
It brings
change?
me back to math class, and I don't like that.
I
had a
don't
tutor every
math.
summer.
Yeah. I would find a way to, like, what if an athlete is injured now of the season, to remove that athlete from the leaderboard. Now, that athlete can still accrue
Yeah.
points when he or she comes back, but for that season, you remove them. Everyone else bumps up. Like that would be one simple thing I would do.
Yeah. Injuries, PEDs.
Yes. Yep.
Vamonos.
Yeah. All right. Next question. This is a good one. So how does Adrian Bosman build on what he accomplished last season? And one of my big fears was that as cool as the Capitol was, that they were going to try to one up that this year. And my recommendation was, like, don't even try. Just put forth
was that
really
their
good
goal? Did they really talk about trying to?
I don't know if they did or not, but I'm glad. And look, I know that there were originally supposed to be some offsite events that got pulled back. So who knows? But I'm glad that he didn't try to do that. Like, that's just one of those things where, you don't want to try to top it every year. I think what's better is just build consistency year over year, put forth a good, complete test of fitness, so that at the end of the weekend, we can say, yes, that man and that woman, they are the two fittest athletes on earth. I think what he did, though, is he further establishes, and this is something Pat Vellner talked about 2 years ago, is that he really established how, I think, Boz is one of his signatures in programming is importance of execution.
Yeah.
There's and a lot of things he throws out there, he's either going to force you to go at a pace you don't want to go, and he's going to also force you to not make any mistakes while you're doing that. Like a controlled freak out, I think is how he put it.
For sure. And well, there's those execution elements in a lot of different tests. I mean, even reducing the number of lifts that you get in the Olympic total, right? That put a high emphasis on hitting that first lift.
I love that, by the way.
Yeah. And that was something that messed up Medeiros with a slight mental lapse. I mean, the parallel pull-up, bar sled pull, you had to be aggressive on that. And a mistake on the parallel bars, especially if you had gone down, immediately put you in a hole that you had to climb out of.
Mm-hmm.
There was some execution elements there. I mean, the intervals, you kind of had to pin your ears back and go. The alpaca redux with the legless rope climbs, as we saw for some people, ended up being just a huge crux in terms of, if you hit failure on that, you're screwed. I mean, the pig chipper was just tough in general. The inverted medley had a lot of high execution elements. The ski bag, you had to go for it. And as we've gotten the feedback from a lot of athletes on the ride event for the bike stuff, you have to be aggressive early and be in that lead pack, because after that, it becomes very difficult to make up ground.
I think what else I really like to see with Boz's program this year is the evolution of the sport at the CrossFit Games. You saw a lot of commotion on how people were upset that there wasn't a lot of barbell, but it was really cool to see him test strength in a totally different way. And I think you can have the same conversation about the way that he tested gymnastics. It wasn't just toes to bar and chest to bar, and it was like using the P bars and even like the sled pull from the ground and seated rope climbs and all of those things that I think are a progression in the sport, especially once you get to the CrossFit Games, that I think caught some athletes off guard. And you can see it through the leaderboard.
I was thinking about this a couple of days ago. The analogy that I'll use is with, a test like the Capitol in his first year of programming. Boz pulled the driver out on the first tee box and just cranked one and split to, the trees. And then instead of kind of going back to the well with that and trying to, hit a bigger and badder drive and going to the driving range, he decided to work on his short game. He went to the putting green, and he went to the chipping station, and he worked on the little things that are core fundamentals of the game of programming that I think will overall make the entire experience a little bit better, because anyone who plays golf, you can hit that bomb off the drive, and if you feel great, but then you can just kind of, you can chunk your next two shots, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, you got a snowman on it,
breaking the Nike 7 iron out, and taking that thing back onto the fairway,
the old foot wedge too. But it's like, are you going to go back to the flashy thing? Which kudos to Boz for taking that swing for something that big, but hey, let's make sure top to bottom, like the core elements, of the sport are taken care of here, even if they're tested in an unfamiliar way.
And I like the fact that I think he's done a pretty good job of pushing things forward without, making things ultra gimmicky. I understand like the
Yeah.
crossovers. There's I get why people look at that and go, I don't know. But everything else that I think's been done, wall facing handstand push-ups, the parallel bars, seated legless door climbs, like you said, Lauren. I think all that stuff is like a good way to push it into the next phase and elevate athlete performance and challenge athletes without getting into the stuff that you see in like, you would see in the grid where they're doing backflips
Yeah.
and, so like where it's
Yeah.
now it's stupid human tricks. So I
Well,
think he's done a good
Well,
job
and
of walking that
honestly,
line.
well, and I was worried because of last year's the crossover double under because of that workout. I was like, oh, if this is what we're seeing this year, what is going to be like the evolution of that the following year? But truthfully, from all of the programming he did, I don't think there was anything gimmicky or a test that wasn't relevant for the games.
Yeah. And in his defense, and I don't know if you're going to say this or not, the crossovers were saved to the very end of the test for what, 10
Oh,
people
for sure.
each. So it wasn't like everybody had to do them.
Yeah. It was an opportunity to showcase an elevated skill. But
Yeah.
I think, and I'm excited to talk to him on Thursday about this, but
Mhm.
he did a really good job of, I think, elevating the classic CrossFit pieces, right? So you have the single modality, stuff, but instead of just going for a run, it's the I guess the cross country 4.5K, or you do the bike ride with like you have to dismount and carry, and you do a mass start, you do the Olympic total, but we're going to give you a fewer attempts and crank the intensity up a little bit, or we're going to find ways to elevate classic couplets and triplets in a way that makes them unique. The muscle up logs, for example, that's a basic CrossFit couplet, muscle ups, and basically pick up something heavy, but we're going to elevate it by changing the heights that you have to lift it and the weight of the bags that you have to move them and the distance. So little nuances like that, or the echo thruster finale, the thrusters with the barbell and the echo bike, classic CrossFit rep scheme. But when you finish that last one with that heavier barbell as the weight goes up, well, let's just take it for a walk.
Yeah.
And then in some instances, he primarily kind of left it alone with Helena. Similar rep scheme. Obviously, movements were adjusted slightly to fit the needs of the games athletes, but the core was still intact with that. I felt like.
I thought Helena, by the way, was that was my favorite event, I think, of the weekend. I loved it.
It was my favorite to watch.
It was awesome. Like the way they had that drone following them in and out of the building. It looked so cool. Touch. Yeah, that was one when we were read in on it. It was a little different than when they originally, the way it ended up. But I'm glad they made the switches that they did, because that was fun. That was a really cool test. We're going to skip number 4. Number 4 is, what will the athlete ranking formula look like? At the time we asked that question, we didn't know. So we're going to skip 4. Skip to the end. We're going to go number 3. This is another one. Will the Open finally recapture the magic? And I think our answer to this has been pretty much, this was the closest that we have been to, I think, peak Open years, because we had 3 separate announcements that were in affiliates or live in person. The first one obviously wasn't in an affiliate, but that community was fantastic there in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had 2 more, in Omaha, and we had, I've already forgotten where New Jersey.
New Jersey, yep.
And they were great. And the fans were awesome on site. I think what is working against the Open is that it just doesn't mean as much as it used to.
For the elites.
But for everybody. I thought, for me, and this is one of the cool things about the Open, is that, it was the gateway to regionals. And I felt like, hey, I want to see how close I can get to that, and like you're going from online right into a live competition setting. And you had people, I remember the story, I think it was like Pat Burke, we've said this a bunch, it was sitting there refreshing the leaderboard with a loaded barbell to see if he was going to have to repeat a workout. You don't have those moments anymore. But that doesn't mean that's from the competitive standpoint. That doesn't mean what's going on in local affiliates on a nightly basis during the Open, that hasn't been like elevated a little bit. I think that magic is probably still there. I hope it is, because I think a lot of affiliates are still doing like intramural stuff. They're still doing, Friday Night Lights. So I think that is more or less intact. But when it comes to just like paying attention as part of the season, to me, I don't think like the season really starts until semifinals.
I agree.
Interesting.
I love the Open, but I don't love the Open for the sports side. I love it for the affiliate side.
Mhm.
And if I
think it's
if
been.
I go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, but I think it's been like that longer than most people think.
No, and I agree. Like in my perfect season structure, or like on the journey to what I would think a perfect season structure would be, is if you went to the previous year of the games, you don't need to do the Open. Continue off-season in-person competitions that people can go to and watch, and extend live coverage in other ways.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you a little bit. I don't like the quarterfinals. I understand it is
No, I
a
don't like
way.
that
It's a
either.
way to. It's a it's a
I
revenue
like it for the
generator.
affiliates.
It's great for and it's great for
It's
athletes who are
great for
trying to
Tommy and I.
and for trying to test themselves and see how that next level.
I don't know if it's great for me, but
But
it's an opportunity.
Yeah, it's an opportunity.
Yes.
But I would love, if you're going to stick with the quarterfinals, what I would love to see, and this is, I don't know how you could make this happen, but I would love to see you find like smaller regional events, competitions where you could send everybody to you would send people to compete in person, and then the top athletes from those go to feed into a semifinal. So you make it like a bracket type thing. I have no idea. Like making that work is kind of a pipe dream, but I don't think you need more online competition. I think that's leaning into a system that isn't equipped to deal with everything it needs to deal with. And the people who are there
Setting us up
are
for
doing all they
failure,
can.
and it adds no, in my opinion, it doesn't really add any hype to
No. How do you watch
the
quarterfinals?
sport. Yeah. And most athletes have their videos private. So I can't even go on
And I can't blame them for that either.
No, I 100% don't blame them.
It's just, it's not a spectator friendly thing. I understand why they do it. I understand it replaces regionals in a way that it gives people a chance to, test themselves against the best in the world. But it just doesn't, in the whole scheme of things, it doesn't matter. There would used to be a lot of leaderboard watching, and this is just from the sport perspective, not the community perspective.
Yeah.
There used to be a lot more leaderboard watching during the Open than there was during quarterfinals. Wow, this person's on the outside looking in. Like that was what made you don't leaderboard watch at all during the Open, because there's no one out there that's in danger of not making it.
Yeah, but I think that would have happened regardless if there's quarterfinals or not. I think this goes back to what I said earlier. I think it was like that 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I don't think there was a ton of leaderboard watching on the Open, because usually week one someone would punt something in the stands, and then by week two they were pretty much okay.
Yeah, but I think too there was still more. There's never a bubble watch in the Open.
Yeah, and I think we were going to get to a point where there's never going to be a bubble watch anyways, because I think that is the progression of sport, is that as it becomes more refined and best practices get ironed out and the elites of the sport become more, and I use this term loosely, professional from a manner in which they approach it, right? Like they become full-time at this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like, then the separation between the top and the sport, the top athletes in the sport and people wanting to break through becomes wider.
I can see that.
You saw that in football, in basketball, the stories of the guy coming up off the street that was a plumber that just, maybe had a couple of things in his back pocket and could step in and play. Those are stories reserved to the 60s, 70s, and 80s. You don't see that anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen in any major sport, at least any of the big four now. And if he does, it's very few and far between, and it's a special scenario. Like, could you imagine like the Kurt Warner story happening now? I mean, at least he was still training, but I think ultimately that's going to lend itself to the early stages mattering less and less for the elite athletes. And then the question just becomes, do you want to include them in those parts of the season? And if so, then is them participating going to be a small sacrifice for their involvement in the storytelling across the entire season?
Yeah, I think if you're going to, I've heard a lot of these proposals of people, if you qualify the games, you should get a bye through the Open. I think if you're going to make the claim that you're finding the fittest on earth, everyone has to take the entirety of the test.
I agree.
I'm not
for the most part.
I'm not a big skip through the Open and go right to quarters. I think the existence of quarterfinals to me just it just nursed the season. It nursed the excitement up front, because it used to be after week 5 of the Open, here are your 40 men and women who are going to semifinals or going to regionals, and that was cool. And now, granted, we had a lot more regionals. I don't know. It's an interesting thing, but I think from a perspective of what's happening in the affiliates, it feels like it is starting to get more momentum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's, if you make the direct jump, I think we talked about this before. If you make the direct jump from the Open to semifinals, or you give buys, then the emphasis on judging becomes in the Open becomes much more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And I think quarterfinals, while certainly not perfect, allows you to narrow the scope a little bit.
I 100% agree with that. And where you're coming from is that if you were going to do that, that is one of the biggest problems, is that now you need to devote resources that you probably do not have to being much more circumspect when it comes to videos, judging, all that stuff. And there's all that. There's that suggestion that's been around forever of, well, let the community judge, let the community get on.
That's asking for.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't think that's a viable.
I don't know how you would manage that. I know like there's probably people who have come up with solutions to that, but I just want to find a way. I think for me, I want to find a way to inject more excitement and more anticipation for the beginning of the season from a sports perspective. I think having gone to those 2 affiliates and seeing what goes on there firsthand, in Omaha and in New Jersey, I think there are still places, affiliates that take this very seriously, get behind it, and love doing it. And ultimately, that is the most important thing. So for me, it's a double. It's kind of like 2 parts of the answer has 2 parts. Will it recapture the magic? I think inside the affiliate, that is starting to happen. I think for the season, we still need to find a way to make it more exciting.
I think they just need to cut, and I think there needs to be more coverage from CrossFit around it too.
Yes.
I mean, discussions around Open promotion would begin now.
100%.
And stuff would start rolling out in October, November.
Yep.
Around the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll see what they have in store for next year. And here's another thing. I kind of missed the 5-week Open. I know from an affiliate standpoint, it's kind of a nightmare. I do kind of miss the 5-week one.
I do too.
I liked it being 5 weeks when I look back.
Part of that's rooted in like my nostalgia for walking around, like, everybody smack talking in the office and people sneaking in retests, while one other person's eating lunch so they don't see it.
For sure.
Like just that kind of stuff. But I realize that's not the experience for everyone. And, 3 weeks, 4 tests seems to be more digestible, and almost across the board, I've heard from people reaching out to us, giving us like the thumbs up on the 3-week Open for like less invasiveness.
Sure.
But
yeah, I don't know. All right. Number 2. Wow. This turned out to be kind of the wrong question too. Will anyone crash the Justin, Ricky, Roman party? And how about like it was like there's going to be those 3 going at it again, and Justin finishes outside the top 10. Ricky doesn't even make to the games, and Roman looked like he was going to win, or is at least going to finish in the top 2, and then has that injury, and I think it's it's just a lesson in like how quickly things can change here, and how well you think you all you have to go on is the last season and a couple seasons, whatever the body of work is, but just. Especially now on the men's side, man, it's wide open. And
sport is unpredictable. That is what we have learned.
Yeah, 100%. And now it's Adler and it's Vellner, and we expected, I think, both of them to be there. Like that, I think, was the answer all throughout this. But it's just funny to me that this is like looking back, hindsight's 2020, that this was the question that we asked. And I'm sure that going into next season, it'll be all right. Who's going to crash the Vellner Adler Canadian party? Like that's.
I mean, and for large portions of the competition, Chandler was up there, Brent was up there. Dallin made a nice charge at the end. A lot of stuff to be excited about, for sure.
The men's leaderboard is just so close together, like when it comes to athleticism and who is raising up on the men's side. Like the way that we saw the leaderboard flip-flopping, as you guys just mentioned, it just is. I think this makes it more exciting when you there's so much unknown. Like, we can talk about this till our face turns blue, but even next year, it's like, who can dethrone Jeff Adler? And it's like, well, I don't know. It's certainly possible. I mean, I don't know that we'll have somebody like Matt Frazier in the next 5+ years, just looking at who is in the field right now. They're all so good.
I'll plug Death by again that you recorded today. I thought Chase Ingram had some really good points to make on this as well. And I think what's cool about, at least on the men's side, I think probably on the women's side too, is that Adler won, but does that automatically make him the favorite going into next year? And I think in the past years, it was like, oh yeah, no question. I don't know if that's the same case here for him.
Yeah.
I don't know if that automatically makes him the favorite.
I don't know that anybody's the favorite.
There are 4 or 5 people that you can make legitimate cases for. And I think some people have said, oh, Justin's never going to win because we've never seen that. Do ever win again, I should say, because we've never seen a champion not win or take a year off and then come back and win. And that could very well happen in both divisions next year. Like, I don't think Justin is done by any means.
Oh, not at all.
No.
But that's a great point around like, yeah, is Adler the favorite on paper? Yes. Is there a healthy case to be made for 2, 3, maybe even 4 people, depending on, how the full run goes? Yeah. And what did this season teach us is that it can all change in an instant.
Well, and think about when Rich and Matt were doing their things. It's like after they both won 2, it was just pretty much a foregone conclusion that they were going to win as long as they wanted to win.
Yeah.
That's not the case here now.
Well, we've had so much predictability at the top.
Yeah, I love it.
That it almost defies conventional sports logic, right?
Yep.
About what Lauren said about how volatile sports can be and how fickle they can be, really. But I think we're seeing a little bit more, I guess, I don't want to say what's more common, because again, this is its own sport and its own unique kind of set of data and performance, feedback along the way. But seeing the turnover and the changes, it makes me excited because, like, again, I just don't think it's as clear cut as it has been for. I'm trying to think, maybe probably a decade.
Yeah.
Right.
I was going to say, 2013, 2014.
Yeah. Cause I mean, like, you go back to 2013, 2014, we had the first and second fittest woman on earth not qualify for the games the following year. We had in 2014 a podium where the winner never podiumed ever again or had never podiumed previous. And a lot of the first-time top 10 athletes from there on out failed to ever replicate that success again. So there was all this crazy volatility that year.
2014 was a weird year.
It was a weird year for the women's division for sure. And then it was really a transition, and we were in the middle of the Rich Froning era, so there was predictability there. And there was a stopover in Virginia at the Smith household, and then it was the Fraser era. And then by that point, by the time that changeover on the women's side had happened, it basically became Katrin and Tia.
Yeah. All right. Well, that brings us to number 1 here. And again, this is at the beginning of the season. Who will replace Tia Toomey on top of the women's podium? And it was down to 2. It was really, I think, maybe 3. It was Horvath, O'Brien, and I think Danielle Brandon was in that conversation too at the very beginning of the season. As a possibility.
I would say I think Annie would. Do you think that Annie was part of the conversation more than BB?
I think
probably.
I think in the public eye, maybe Annie more so. For me, it was primarily Mal and Laura.
I think they were the 2 clear favorites, but I think those other 2 crept into the conversation. But now the question becomes: is will Tia become the first woman or first person to skip a year after winning 6 straight, come back and win number 7? I don't know.
Why not?
Yeah.
I'm excited to watch her and Laura be on the same field again.
Oh, I can't wait to see her, Laura, Mal, Haley, everybody.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
You know, it's just that women. Alexis Raptis too, I think, is now a legit star. You know, Paige Powers, like the next generation of stars for the women have arrived, and it's, man, seeing Tia come back, and Chase described this too on Death by. I think it was when you were talking about. Can't remember what the subject was, but she was up in the booth with us for, I think it was the Muscle Up blog event. Could have been. I don't know. It was, but she had Willow strapped on her, and she was just like gripping the table, like ready to get out there and compete. And it was, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Next year is going to be cool. And who knows what the unknowns are, like what happens, what monkey wrenches get thrown into things. But both divisions are going to be like, can the champ hang on?
Mm-hmm.
And man, Laura Horvath, I would not want to be her right now with that target on your back, because you got Tia Toomey coming after you and then a really talented field. But
I think that's exciting.
I love it.
I feel like Laura relishes that.
Yes, she
Right?
should.
Yeah.
It's, man, yeah, you're throwing a bunch of established names back into the mix this year.
Mm-hmm. Got Ariel Lowen. Wad Zombie brought her up. Thank you, man. I totally forgot about her. Like she's like the Pat Vellner of the women's side. And is if you listen to Justin Kotler, she's got potential to win it. But it's going to be fun, man. Next season is going to be a blast.
I mean, Ariel Lowen
is already getting started.
Is a great example of just when you surrender the outcome, like good things can come your way. You know?
Yeah, it's going to be cool. All right. Well, those were our top 10 questions heading into the season, and we have now, I think, answered most of them. So, we got any community support we got to get to?
No, just continue to, I guess, be aware of the fundraising efforts for Maui. I believe CrossFit put something out or is trying to support it as well. Yeah, that's really kind of it. I do have PR no rep.
Do it.
Let's hear it.
My no rep is turning your back on the ocean.
Oh boy.
What happened?
Had a beach day this weekend. Decided to do some body surfing with some of my bros from the gym.
Okay.
And just when you think you're a strong, upstanding human being, Mother Nature has a way of reminding you that you are insignificant in this world.
I got a no rep that'll go right off of that.
We were a set came in about 7 to 8 waves, and they're pretty sizable, and we were ducking under, we were bobbing and ducking a few of them, and then rode a few in, and then I thought I was out of range. So as the wave crashed and curled, I thought I was out. It was going to be whitewash enough for me to just bear it, and I turned my back, and it hit me like a ton of bricks, and I fell flat on my face, got kicked upside down, and then flipped over onto my back into the shallows as I just got wrecked.
Dang.
I woke up the next morning like neck sore, back sore, like, oh yeah.
Neck sore.
Yep.
Back sore. I'm gonna no rep myself for not warming up properly. When you're almost 50, you gotta warm up. Like I often just like scramble outside to get a workout in. I do NC Fit programming. And there was one, it was like, I can't remember what it was. Like it was a ring dip one. Remember that one, Lauren? Did you do that one? It was the running with the ring dips and the something
I
else.
did that one. Yeah.
It was like 9 ring dips per round, and it was like 5 rounds. I don't know. At my age, you gotta warm up. Yes, you gotta warm up the ring dips. You gotta warm them up. Didn't warm them up. I was like, all right, 2 ready to go here. And I just like jumped into it. Round 4, I think I went, and it was like, just pulled it. I don't know if you guys can see it. I got the bruise right there, the partial tear.
You're just trying to show off your bicep.
I am not. I'm like, there's like legit bruise like right there, man. Like, so I'm on the shelf, and I was so mad at myself because I was like, I wasn't even going to do that one. I didn't warm up like an idiot. I should have scaled it. And now I'm like on the shelf, just doing stuff like running an air squat. So warm up, kids, especially if you're a senior citizen like Uncle Sean here.
Oh man.
I'm also going to no rep. I'm going to no rep myself. When you aren't super familiar of what's in cocktails and you order one because like the name of the cocktail comes to mind and you think that's what you want, but it's actually totally not. So I ordered a Paloma, which has tequila in it.
I love Palomas.
Because you like tequila. Your friend here, L Dog, I don't like tequila unless it's in a margarita and you can't taste it because there's a lot of sweetness in there.
Did you
Well,
just
I
call
wanted
yourself
it.
L Dog?
I did.
Okay.
You mean you don't hail from the
Is that with two G's?
I was gonna say
My
you don't like
first
tequila?
screen name? No. Oh, if anybody, you could pay me $1,000 to take a tequila shot, and I'd say no, not a chance.
Dang.
Pass.
I thought you were from the Mexican regions of Jalisco.
Dang.
I know, I look it, don't I? So I ordered a Paloma, but I really wanted an Aperol Spritz, which if you've ever had that, they taste very, very different. And the first sip, I was like, I've made a terrible mistake. But then I felt bad. I wasn't gonna ask for what I really wanted because it was my fault.
Yep. All right.
So
You got a PR?
Why didn't you just say Aperol Spritz?
because in my head, Paloma came to mind, and I don't know why, because I would never order a Paloma ever.
They're delicious.
Got to get on that, L Dog.
Thank you. My first screen name ever, Lil B-Ball Dancer 22.
Lil B-Ball Dancer 22. All right.
Yep.
Dang.
Oh man, that is perfect. That was your AIM name.
Yeah.
You got a PR?
I'm PRing my parents and my the term goes comadres. Technically, it kind of stands for co-parents, but my parents' godson started college this past weekend, and so him and his parents came out and spent the weekend with us and moved him into college.
Nice.
And it was very interesting to see that that process from someone else, like the parents kind of having their youngest leave the nest, in that moment. And I thought they handled it admirably. And it was a very cool process to watch. And they're starting a new chapter of their lives. So give them a PR for that.
Lauren, you got one?
I'm just going to bring it back to the Asbury Park Summer Games. I'm going to PR them for putting on a fantastic event. And hopefully this ignites the sparks that COVID kind of killed. And I think it certainly did.
It
so kudos.
Looked like a great event. Like, it looked like a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure.
It was. It made me really excited for the off season too.
I will PR the end of the summer doldrums. Football is upon us. We only have a couple weeks to go before we start the regular season. And then, then hockey season, because I have a feeling like my football season is probably going to be about a 5-week endeavor. I'll be like, all right, well, we're just going to wait till next year. But football is here, Tommy. There will be football every weekend from now until February. Congratulations. You made it.
And it's congrats to the Washington Commanders
for
breaking the longest streak, longest ongoing win streak in sports, I think, with the Ravens.
24 straight in the preseason.
Yeah.
Like that's hard to do.
That's very tough.
Because the preseason is such just like whatever. So, all right. Coming up Thursday, still TBD if we're going to do this live, hoping we are. 12:30 Pacific time, 3:30 Eastern. We're going to have Adrian Bosman on this Thursday, so that'll be fun. So we'll probably promote that on Instagram. If you guys have questions, you can put them on there. We have a new series we're working on as well called TEF Rewind. We've banked a couple of those. We'll be releasing those soon. We had Jason Khalipa on, and we relived the 2013 Burden Run with him. And then yesterday, we recorded an episode with our good friend Josh Bridges, where we went through the 2016 Murph event from the CrossFit Games. That was a lot of fun. So we'll be releasing those soon. Lauren has a new episode of Death By that is coming out. We got Ariel Lowen coming on the show soon. We have an interview with Jake Crouch. What am I missing? Who else? Efforting some things as well, but that's what we got. So cool. We got our Q&A on Friday with our patrons. If you want to support us on Patreon, you can do that. You can check out barbellvoodoo.com for all our new merch. We got the Lift Moss shirt. Is that available now?
Yeah. Yep.
That's a good one. I got to get me one of those.
I can confirm it does help you lift moss. I wore it yesterday during our clean.
I won't know for a while until this damn thing heals. Yes, hoping to have answering a question from Wad Zombie. We're hoping to have the athlete interviews be live. Yeah, we're hoping to do all our stuff live from now on, but we just want to confirm with Boz before we do that. Podium picks, we're efforting that as well. We're going to try to bring that back. So
lots of things
a lot of fun stuff. We got competitions coming up. Like the Open is going to be here before we freaking know it.
Oh man, it is. It just
All right. Scott's wearing his Lift Moss shirt today. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate you representing, man.
We love that.
All right. That's going to do it for today. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Thanks for listening. For Tommy Marquez and Laura Khalil, I'm Sean Woodland. Take care of each other. Be better.